Hi, this is Edward Troxel. In today's tutorial, we're going to look at a forum post where they were requesting how to specify what type of interpolation a keyframe had, and they were wanting all of them to be smooth all the time. I don't know a way to change them directly when you're adding them, but they can be changed with a script. In fact, there's lots of different types of keyframes that can be changed. So let's write a little script that sees these keyframes and how to change them all to smooth. Now, some of them in my testing were smooth by default when I added them in Vegas, but most of them were set to linear. And so we'll see how to change them all to smooth. If we look at our project here, you'll see here I've added a composite level envelope to a video track, and if we look at the points of them, they're already smooth. So I'm going to go ahead and change some of these to something else. Let's change these couple here to linear and fast, and you can see that this is now a straight line. And then down here on the audio track, I added a volume envelope, and once again that's automatically set to smooth, but I'm going to change that to linear as well. Then on an effect, here we have the chorus effect, and I've checked the configure FX automation box, and you can see I've checked delay, input gain, and dry out. So on the track here we have this one that says chorus, this one that says chorus, and this one that says chorus. If we right click any of those, they all say linear. So all of these are set to linear. Then I have a video event up here, and this video event I've added a velocity envelope. So if we right click any point on here, you will see they are automatically smooth. So let's just change this to linear so that we can see what happens. Then we have a pan crop. Let's add a couple of pan crop points, and we will see that both of these are linear. And then we have a track motion. This is a 3D track motion, and we can see that its point is set to linear. Then on the other track we have a track motion that's just 2D, and you can see we have a couple of points here. They are set to linear by default. And then we also have the 2D shadow, which is also a linear, and a 2D glow, which is also linear. So we'll change all of those types. Finally, we have video effects. So this has a video effect, and here is one that has crop on it, and this parameter is set to linear by default. We have an effect on the track. These parameters are set to linear by default. We have an effect on the entire project. And these are also set to linear by default. Now I did not add one to the media, but it is also going to go through and check media level effect as well. So let's see how we would change all of those and make them all smooth. Here's the code that we have. At the top we have our using statements. Then we have our namespace and class, and then we set up our public variable called Vegas. And then here's my main routine in which I'm passing the Vegas variable to it. And then I'm setting my Vegas equal to Vegas. And then we get to work to checking all these things. First thing I'm going to go through is for each track, my track, and my Vegas.project.tracks. And then I'm going to adjust the envelope curve type for my track.envelopes. Now the good thing is when we're dealing with envelopes, they're all the same. So I can create me a little routine here, and it's going to handle all of the envelopes. So let's go down and look at that routine right quick. Here is the adjust envelope curve type routine, and I'm just going to pass it a set of envelopes, and I give it the envelope's name for the variable. Then I'm going to go for each envelope, env in envelopes, for each envelope point, which I just called EP, in envelope.points. I'm going to set ep.curve equal to curve type dot smooth. Now when I press this dot, you will see that my options are fast, invalid, linear, none, sharp, slow, and smooth. So in this case we wanted to use smooth, and so that is what we chose. So anytime I want to do an envelope, all I have to do is call this routine. Now if my track.isVideo, then I want to get a video track. I want to convert my track to a video track. So video track vtrack equals video track from my track. Now I want to see if my track has a track motion. So if the vtrack.trackMotion.has data, well, I want to go through each track motion keyframe in vtrack.trackMotion.motion keyframes, and then I'm going to set that keyframe type equal to video keyframe.smooth. Once again, once I press the dot, I can see that it's fast, hold, linear, sharp, slow, and smooth are my options. So in this case, I want smooth. Then I'm going to check to see if it has glow data. If it does, then I'm going to look for glow keyframes in trackMotion.glow keyframes, and once again change the type to smooth. Then I'm going to look for, does it have shadow data? If it does, then I'm going to change the track shadow keyframes from trackMotion.shadow keyframes, change the type to video keyframe type dot smooth. So all of these are exactly the same. It's just looking for the motion, the glow, and the shadow. Then for each effect in the video track.effects, if the effect is an OFX effect, then I'm going to call this routine called adjust curve type OFX parameters, and I'm just going to pass it the OFX effect. Once again, for all effects, all I have to do is call this one routine right here. So let's go down and look at this routine. The big problem with adjusting the effects is you have to do each particular type of parameter individually. But the good news is they're all the same. So for my adjust curve type OFX parameters, I'm passing it the OFX effect. Then for each OFX parameter in the OFX.parameters, I need to get the type of parameter it is, and we're using a switch here to look at each type different. So I'm going to have type RGB, RGBA, double, and so forth on the way down. In every case, I'm doing the same thing, except for this right here is changing, this right here is changing, and this right here is changing. So this, since I'm looking at RGB, is going to be OFX RGB parameter. Then I'm going to get into a variable the RGB parameter from the parameter name that I'm looking at right now. Then if it has multiple keyframes, I'm going to go through each one of the keyframes. Once again, I have to specify RGB keyframe. So K1 in P1.keyframes, and then I set the K1.interpolation into OFX interpolation type.smooth. Once again, we press dot here. We can see there are lots more options in this particular case. Unknown, split, smooth, slow, sharp, manual, linear, hold, fast, Bezier split, Bezier locked, and back to default. So we're just going to set them to smooth. Then we do the same thing for RGBA using the RGBA parameter, double using the double parameter, double 2D, double 3D, integer, integer 2D, integer 3D, choice, Boolean, string, and then there's actually a custom parameter, and then we have our default for our switch. And that's all we have to do is go through each parameter, and if it has multiple keyframes, then we change each keyframe to smooth. So that took care of the video track effects by calling this for every effect that we have. So next we're going to go through all events on the track. Then I'm going to look at each video event, so I convert this to a video event, which I call v-event from event. And then, first thing we can do is just change all the curves on video event.envelopes. So in this particular case, like the first video event had a velocity envelope on it, so that would be the envelope that was passed to adjust envelopes. And then I want to get the video motion keyframe from the video event, video motion keyframes, and we're going to change the type to the video keyframe type.smooth, just like we did up here with track motion. This is pan crop, so we're doing the exact same thing. Then for each effect in video event.effects, I want to check to see if it's an OFX effect. Then I'm going to adjust the curve type, passing it the event effects. And then for each effect in the video event.activeTake.media.effects, I'm going to do the same thing. If it's an OFX, I'm going to adjust all the effects. And then finally, I really need to take this outside of all of the loops because it doesn't need to be run multiple times. So let's just go ahead and cut this, and we'll take this way up here at the top. That way it'll only be done once. We're going to go through each effect in myvegas.project.videobus.effects. So that will be all of our global effects. We're going to, if it's an OFX effect, we're going to adjust it as well. So let's see how it works. Okay, first thing we can do is come down here, and this was the one we had reset to fast, and it is now smooth. We had reset this one to linear, it is now smooth. If we look at these are now smooth. If we look at this one, it's now smooth. This one is smooth. Over here, these are now smooth. If we look at our velocity envelope, this is now smooth. Then if we start looking at effects, this one is now smooth. So that's on the event. Let's look on the track. This one is now smooth. Let's look at our global effect. And this one is now smooth. And then let's look at our pan crop. This is smooth. So all of the keyframes on the pan crop are now smooth. And then if we look at our regular track motion, this is now smooth. The shadow is now smooth. And the glow is now smooth. And then if we look at our 3D track motion, this is also now smooth. So as you can see, we looked at several different types of keyframes, from effects to envelopes, to track motion, to pan crop, and we changed every keyframe in all cases to smooth. Once again, we can pick a different option and we can change it to fast or linear or sharp or whichever setting we want to. But that's the procedure that we can go through to change every keyframe in our project. And you could use as many of those or as few of those as you wanted. Naturally, you could create a screen if you wanted to specify which ones you wanted to change. And so that's a pretty cool little script that will let you go through and change keyframes. Let me know what you'd like to see in the future. Like, subscribe, leave me comments, and we'll see you in the next tutorial.
Please sign up at www.JETDV.com and subscribe on YouTube to get further notifications on when new videos are presented.